Hello, Steve Art, TrekBoy89 for Steve Arts 89. Well, this is pretty funny. A couple of days ago, I saw a video by Myer Burnett, and I don't like how right-leaning he is and all that sort of issue, but I like his shows because his experience within the industry, it's just nice to listen to his videos. So I do, and they're quite long videos, so I do watch them. I started watching him again. I stopped because of something he said during the Black Lives Matter movement, but I just got over it and kept watching the show. But he put up a video about Picard. I assumed it was about the trailer that played at SDCC. But no, he has actually, apparently, allegedly, supposedly, seen season 3 of Picard, all 10 episodes, in their current edited form with temporary effects, or he said he experienced it. He then backtracked and said, well, maybe I read the script, maybe I don't. He was, I guess, I don't know, he's trying to not get people in trouble. But he basically said, it's amazing, it's great. That Terry Matalas has done as much for Star Trek as Michael Piller did. I think it was Michael Piller. Yeah, Michael Piller did in the third season of Next Generation, and basically saying that they've saved it. It's a great send-off. It's better than any of the Next Generation films. It's like a great Next Generation film in 10 parts, and he just couldn't stop raving about it. And this is someone who's hated every season of Discovery and Picard, and hated even the JJ films, because I like the JJ films in their own sort of pocket universe. As action films, not science fiction films. I'm absolutely fine with them. So I found it kind of amazing that this turn of events, and I thought, wow. And he did mention that Doomcock and some people had some issues with him, of course, because, oh my God, you can't like Star Trek. Because they make their bread and butter out of hating Star Trek. So, of course, Doomcock had a response, and it was hilarious. I saw the video last night, I'm like, oh no, if I watch that, it's going to send me down a rabbit hole, and I've got things to do. I put it off till today. And he did a video where he went through all his tweets, because apparently he had a Twitter fit, and a panic attack, and a rant, and a hissy fit all in one, at Myer Burnett, and anyone who dares to suggest that season 3 of Picard might actually be decent television or decent science fiction, or a return to form to Star Trek, or even just making up for perhaps the other 2 seasons. And he posted a bunch of tweets which I thought were pretty funny. He's going on that Kurtzman Trek is dead to him. You know, you can't abuse us. I have to cut some words out of this because he's swearing a lot. You can't abuse us for years and then turn around. Basically saying you have to disavow Kurtzman Trek. He will not watch the show unless they disavow Kurtzman Trek, admit failure and everything. And I'm like, that's never going to happen. He says he doesn't care if they bring back Ron Moore or Gene Roddenberry himself through a Ouija board to write scripts. He will not watch the show. Okay, it's too late. You see, people saying, look, it's different, give us the chance. It's like, no, it's basically like being an abused spouse returning to an abuser. And he goes through a whole list of things: the loathsome, filthy canon destruction, the insultingly moronic scripts, the contempt for Star Trek, its legacy and fans, never forget. And it's all about the rage, it's all about the anger, it's about you can't forgive, you have to be angry, you have to fight. Basically, he's not going to be happy unless they turn around and literally decanon all of New Trek and start again the way he wants. And that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. New Trek is established. Whether we like it or not, there's enough fans to support it. It may be nowhere near the success of the original Star Trek or Next Gen or anything, but they obviously have enough fans, enough viewers, enough subscribers that they can keep producing it. I don't think they're making a lot of money. They're certainly not getting a lot of licensing fees, but they're doing well. It's not going anywhere, and we need to just accept that, because it's just not going anywhere. We have to put up with it. Whether it ever gets good enough to enjoy or watch, I don't know. But this whole idea that if we hold out, they will stop making it and go back to making our Star Trek, it's never going to happen. The licensing is never going to allow it. They're never going to be able to profit from it the same from doing that. So it's just not going to happen. So the holding out is ridiculous, and the tantrum is funny, and it's all about the hate, because I mean, channels like Doomcock were founded through hate and hating Star Trek, and I jumped on that bandwagon. I had a first channel before this one that did fairly well reviewing the first season of the show, and that was purely through hate and connecting with other people that hated it and hating it, and I did hate it, and I had good reason to, because it was horrible. It took me a while to realise some of the things they were trying to do, which actually had artistic merit, that I just didn't understand or like, but they still did a bad job of other things like basic science fiction and simple stories and so forth. So what they're doing is totally wrong for Star Trek, but I get that they do actually have, I won't say a goal, but they do have not even a plan. They're making the show they want to make. It's not the show we want, but it's the show they want, and there's a crop of fans now that have come up who do want that sort of show, so that's why we're kind of stuck with it, because they've managed to hold out long enough to grow their own little group of fans. So it's just funny because, like I said, these guys come up on hate and they can't let it go. They can, even if Star Trek got good, they couldn't acknowledge it, because then where would they have to go? Who's going to watch them doing a review about how okay the latest Star Trek was, or maybe if it was even good? What would they do? They need another Next Jedi. They need another, Last Jedi. They need another Ghostbusters, 2016. And if they don't get it, they'll just make it. And if that means acting like a show like Strange New Worlds is trash when it's not, they'll do that. If it means denying Picard is season 3 is good, they'll do that. Like Doomcock has promised he will not watch the show. He will instead do review, basically bring up all the old things they've done, because he wants to stay in the past. He wants people to stay angry. He wants them to keep watching his show like he's going to somehow save them. And it's just this sad little toxic male mentality of just being a savior for people and fighting. It's funny. I sort of was watching it and I just was like, this guy's, he's almost entertaining, except I think he really believes it. But yeah, he put up more posts which are really funny. So after all the abuse, we're supposed to come back to Picard season 3, like abused spouse, like whipped curs, because Picard season 3 says, no baby, I promise I won't beat you anymore. I didn't mean it. You've had enough and you want to reset. Too late. Are you going to be stupid enough, weak enough to come limping back to these filthy cultural vandals who have been spitting in your face and laughing all these years just because they hire the TNG cast? All that came before still stands. Don't be cucks and bend over for any more abuse. My position on Picard season 3, I don't care how good or bad it is. I want nothing to do with those scumbags at Bad Robots and Secret Hideout. Period. Without respect, we reject, which is some tagline he tried to get. He tried to make happen like Fetch, and it didn't. That's that. Without condemnation, repudiation, is that how you say that? And erasure of the Kurtzman Trek, Picard season 3 is dead. No, and this is in response to someone else, sort of saying that if we don't and I don't agree with this, like if we don't watch season 3, if we don't support that, we won't get any new Trek. I'm like, it's going to happen anyway. It doesn't matter if we watch it, because they don't want us as an audience, and they've got their new audience. And I think the higher up executives would like them to make a show that caters for everyone, so you can have it woke enough for the new fans, but actual quality science fiction with some sense of canon continuity for the actual established fans. They just want everyone to watch the show and make money. They don't care about the politics. These small amount of people sort of in charge do, and that's what they think of as Star Trek. That's their version of Star Trek. And one of the interesting things Terry Matalas said when he was talking about going into the writer's room in season 2 was that he realised everyone had their own version of Star Trek, and they were making their version of Star Trek for groups of fans and that. And that's why it does have its own audience. And it really, really goes against the toxic males and the bitter fanboys and the alt-right people, because they hate everything that those people like and support. So they can't stand their type of Star Trek. And their type of Star Trek does have some valid reason to exist. But unfortunately, they kind of dropped the ball in some areas, so it's kind of impossible to support it because there's some flaws you can't avoid and can't ignore. But if they could just fix those, the show could be good, because the political stuff, the diversity representation, the emotionalism, all these things are good. They all have a place in the future, and there's nothing wrong with them, and only people who oppose them are racist, homophobic, bigoted, misogynistic, scared, weak little man babies. And that's what Doomcock is, in my humble opinion. And most of the people who love him and follow him and agree with him have the same issues. And they're never going to be okay with a feminist Star Trek or a really, truly progressive Star Trek, because they have their own version of Star Trek in their mind, which is some weird cowboy version they made up when they were a little kid that really doesn't relate to what Star Trek really was. So it's a fascinating sort of observation of these people. And I just found this really funny, and I just want to keep reading them until I'm done. No, all that it will do, watching the show, is extend Kurtzman's contract and reward the filth who destroyed Star Trek. And they'll laugh in your face for being what they always said you were, a weak man baby that they can abuse and abuse at will, then get you back with one effing season. Not me, brother. It doesn't matter how good or bad Picard Season 3 is. You support it, you support Kurtzman, and by extension, everything that came before. Kids eating human treble hybrids, yeah, that was just, yeah. Klingorks, Mikey Spock, all of it. You empower Kurtzman to get his contract renewed and endorse him. His contract's getting renewed regardless. It's happening. It's happening. So this is funny. The only way to save Star Trek is to punish Paramount and Secret Hideout for abusing Star Trek fans, period. They're desperate now. That's why they're trying to con us with the TNG cast. We cannot throw them a lifeline and watch. Star Trek only survives if Picard Season 3 fails. Someone else was saying, yeah, if we watch the show, we can't watch the show. We need to deprive them of views. It's the only way. Find something else to do that night. We only need to hold out for a year or two, and they will have no choice but to return to the money-making ways of yesterday. No, they've already established New Trek. They survive on it, and they don't have to do anything they don't want to. So this sort of stuff is ridiculous and so funny. And he says, Kurtzman cackles reading this. This was someone saying, I'm just going to watch it anyway. He says, Kurtzman cackles at this and says, yes, it's exactly as I told you. We can abuse the pathetic fools for years, ruin everything they love, mock and revile them, and they'll come crawling back, just as I have foreseen. What weak-minded, blah, blah, blah. And he's just trying to be the emperor, and it's kind of funny. Kurtzman Trek is on life support. That's why they've spent the money to hire the TNG cast for Picard Season 3 to try and fool us all with member berries so that Kurtzman can hang on to his contract and keep destroying Star Trek. This is the same person who said he was already fired like 3 times, and Star Trek was cancelled. Discovery was cancelled every year. It was like the annual cancellation rumour that never came true because it was never happening. They hate fans and love doing horrible things to us. And I think these are his last 2 comments. Picard Season 3 is a lifeline for Kurtzman, still produced by Secret Hideout under Kurtzman's license. If it succeeds, it's going to extend Kurtzman's license to violate Star Trek. The only way to save Star Trek is to starve Kurtzman Trek to death, let it die, and start over. It is a fake. And someone else said, exactly, no matter how good Terry's intentions may be, the problem is that he's setting off from a springboard of failure, beginning in the filth universe. Why bring in Raffi or Seven if they've got nothing to do with Season 1 and 2? It's fake. And his last thing, which is really funny, which is the mic drop moment, he says, here's the final clot of dirt in Picard Season 3's grave. Terry Matalas, the guy who's being touted as Season 3's saviour, the guy who can fix Picard, he was showrunner in Season 2, the horrible Season 2. He had his chance and blew it. Jesus, this is just insane. My work is done, mic drop. Yeah, he was on Season 2. He came onto Season 2 and was already set out, so he couldn't change the show. He couldn't really do anything. I think he wrote like 2 scripts. And And they're probably the only good ones. But yeah, Picard Season 2 had a couple of good episodes. Sorry, it did. The first one, the second one was kind of interesting, but it was dark and negative, so it wasn't really Star Trek, but it was interesting. Then they had about 5 episodes of just Drek running around Los Angeles doing nothing, just saving money on the budget so they could do a 3rd and 4th season and film it all together as one. And then season 3, the last couple of episodes, they actually went back to the ship. In season 3, they're going to stay on those sets and continue that. So it's sort of like 2 seasons. The on Earth Los Angeles budget saving season, that gets them 2 seasons, because the rest of the season is just them on the bridges of ships, which is fine. I'm happy for starship porn and bottle shows on starships. I'm really fine with that. So yeah, I just had to talk about this. I thought it was hilarious. I can't believe I'm still talking after 15 minutes, but I had to read all those out. It's hilarious. Look, I hate what they've done to Star Trek, but I understand why they've done it, because they believe that's what Star Trek is and should be. And as someone who does believe in diversity and representation, all the things that they go on about and all the left stuff they go on about, I understand that you just don't have to sacrifice good science fiction and good characters to do it. You can have both. And it's taken them a while to realise you can have both. They've done it with Strange New Worlds. They still haven't fixed the canon issues, and they're still regurgitating old stories instead of going out and doing their own. If they can just sort that out, they'll have a decent show. If they acknowledge they have a reboot, they'll be showing some respect to fans. They're things they can do. But basically just giving us a good season 3 of Picard, why wouldn't you watch that? Why wouldn't you embrace that and hopefully encourage them for the next show to actually just start off from that point of being a good show and being both diverse and, representational and good science fiction and good drama? We can have it. And the problem is these people don't want it, because they love that the show is bad, because then they can trash the show for the things they really have the problem with, which is diversity, representation, women in power, all these things. That's what they hate. That's what they are against. And Kurtzman gave them exactly what they needed to attack that, by giving them bad scripts, bad characters, canon violations, a reboot that, was being put upon us as a lie, saying it was, original series and everything, in the same universe and everything. He gave us everything he gave them everything they needed to attack the show. And if that stuff goes away, if they stop violating the canon, if they get good showrunners who understand Star Trek, people who actually can write a good story, they won't have anything to attack it for, and they'll have to either attack it for the real issues they have, or they'll have to, I don't know what they'll do. Like, what would Doomcock do if Star Trek was good? What would he do? What would he talk about? Unless Star Wars was still bad, I guess he'd just go and complain about something else. But Star Trek and Star Wars built him, so without them being bad, what would he do? So that's the issue. These people, they have built their platforms on hate. And without that, they don't get the views, they don't get the money. I understand. I have a YouTube channel. I see my views every day. I see my days where I go up and down, and I know how much I'm going to make or not make from it. I just make basically spending money because I'm a small channel. But I can understand what that is like for someone who has a channel 10 times bigger and that money is 10 times more, how important that is. And you see these people spinning and going around in circles trying to maintain the hatred and the momentum that they have on their channels for the subjects that they talk about, because you're only as good as your last controversy or your last outrage. And once that's gone, like, what do you do? I've seen those periods where, like, for example, when Madonna was on tour, I had a lot of traffic, and as soon as she finished tour, it was just like ghost town. And that's what's happening with some of these people when people just get over the outrage, they get over the adrenaline rush, or they go find something else they're outraged about, or a show that was bad gets better, or they change it. They just end up lost, and they just have to make stuff up to keep going and to keep the momentum going and to keep the people interested in that. And I can't believe I'm still talking after 20 minutes, but I find it hilarious and it bothers me. And if you're listening this far, you're still going to be listening. But yeah, it's hilarious. I really hope, I believe, I trust Robert Myer Burnett, even though his favourite Star Trek is Deep Space Nine. I do not believe for a second he'd take money from Paramount or CBS and to make up that the show is good when it's not, to try and get people to watch. After 2 seasons, after 4 seasons of Discovery and 2 seasons of Picard, there's no way he'd do that. So I really believe they've actually made a change with this season, because Patrick wanted his own show about the issues he cared about. He got that. The 3rd season, he seemed to just have no argument against, well, let's just do a finale for the whole of Star Trek and, do a season with the Next Generation cast again and be on starships and I'll sit in the captain's chair. Who cares? They gave me what I want. Let's just give them what they want. So I don't see any issue with it happening. And I just find it hilarious that these people are so threatened and triggered by their rage bait being taken away and, not being able to make money out of their channels anymore, which they must be struggling to do at this point without the sort of disasters like Last Jedi and the 1st season of Discovery and Picard to milk. So I don't know what they're going to do in future. That's why I'm glad I don't have to worry about this for income. I just do it for fun. But I'm going to go. I'm not letting this go past 20 minutes. Bye.